50 to 60%. Others have to, you can't have any other alternative. The decline of the West is actually going to be a major facilitating process for the rise of the East. We have to internalize it, and accordingly we have to devise strategies. We have to devise strategies because whether we like it or not, ourselves and China are going to be a large power in the world. So which thrust on us certain responsibilities, which thrust on us certain imperatives. So we cannot continue to be, wondering what is to be done and others. So our whole strategy should be to look at this issue. So the first issue was terror financing. Second is the recession. So when the decline started, like any other household, when your household is having enormous financial crunch, what we do? We try to look at Imli Dabba, whether, under Tur Dal, some 100 rupees there, some 500 rupees there. The last bangle of the wife, whether it is actual gold or rolled gold. We just, ask her, and then she will say it is actual gold, but you are not very sure. So this type of desperation comes. In any, it's not something. Same thing is happening in Europe. France is in such a desperate. Spain, large portion of Spain, younger unemployment is 40%. It's not something which is easily recognized by us or understood by us. France is in great turmoil. The next maybe couple of months, France could also be. This downgrading, upgrading are all lost any meaning because still India is kept at BB+. It is one of the few growing countries in the world. If at all anyone is deserving AAA, it is India actually. Right. I wrote to that fellow in New York. He told, sir, we are doing business here, not in India. So we have to be very careful. Anyhow, France is in turmoil. Every country. So what? Suddenly they realize a lot of our money is kept in these tax havens by the relatively well-off people and others, which otherwise should have come to the government. So what did the French do? French actually, there is one, Germans do. Germans actually what they did was, they bribed officials of a small bank called Liechtenstein Bank. There is a small territory next to Germany. Size maybe, Andheri or slightly more. If you jog there in the morning, you will come to the next country. So you should be careful with your passport, you should jog, right? So that type of, that's a very interesting country actually. The bank's name, the country's name, the prince's name, all are one and the same. Everything is Liechtenstein. It's one of the few countries, sir, the fellow's name itself is, somebody told me, sir, don't go around talking about it in public forum because some state chief minister may decide to rename the state under his own name in India also. So that is another thing. India, that is Bharat, you are telling, somebody will say, no, let's put the leader's name. So that Liechtenstein, these fellows went and stole the data. Liechtenstein was shouting, our sovereignty is impinged and, German told, keep quiet. Germany is too big a gorilla to, we tolerated you, but just keep quiet. You stole our money, so we stole your data, so cancelled. So they kept this data in their hand, Liechtenstein data. And then their first name was their German Post, Deutsche Post chief. His name was the first name in that list. Then the finance minister announced, anyone who wants we will give it free. This list is available. So US sent representatives, Sweden sent, Finland sent, everybody, Australia sent. One country did not send anyone to collect that list. I'm sure you know which country it is. So I, being a finance, I am also offering a course on tax haven. So I was very curious. Why I was curious? Something is offered free and Indians are not in the queue. That is something, it is against our natural tendency. There should be a long queue, Nobody is going. So I wrote him. He wrote back, not he, but one of his, whatever that official fellows wrote, that, sorry, you are only a teacher, professor, I can't give it to you. I can only give it to sovereign governments. Then I wrote to somebody in Frankfurt and Miami, he professor can't keep quiet. That is another major problem. So I wrote to him and that fellow told, you can actually create a sovereign, buying an island near Miami and declare yourself to be, but that is a very expensive proposition. Somebody like Motilal I have to approach, for, it is not a very, and then there are other issues. I searched into the Google and find out. These islands are, sometimes they will disappear after 1 or 2 years and they will reappear. My country will be periodically disappearing and reappearing, and you have to issue passport, and it can be done. It's not something, there are many shorter places like that. Anyhow, I thought this is not a, so what is the next best alternative? So I shot mails to our leaders, our finance minister, prime minister, this leader, that leader. And it nowadays, doesn't cost anything. You know that. Email is free. I just sent it. So and then waited, and then I also wrote articles, Business Line, Business Standard, all these papers. And then, of course, that time, the leader of the opposition, Advani, took it very seriously. He wrote. Then in between, there is another Ram Jethmalani. All of you would have heard about him. He filed a petition in the Supreme Court, keeping my article as the Exhibit 1. He says, this is the, I was worried because this exhibit and other thing is all, I was, whether I am a culprit or, in India, you never know who is the victim, who is the accused, who is the judge, because the whole thing will change. So it's not a very neat, linear type of situation in India. Suddenly the victim will become the accused. Accused will become the judge. Judge will become the... So I told Ramji, why are you involving me in this? No. Since a professor has written, it has to... And he convinced the judge. Judges took up the case. This thing, but it has got into a lot of other ramification and other things. The point is, we wrote to Germany, collected the data. We did lot of, mischievous things. Officially we wrote, but orally we told them, don't worry, you can take your own time. Nothing, nothing to worry about. But these Germans, being Germans, when you write, they really, they're to follow, they're reasonably efficient people. They send their thing to India, and we have, saddled with that. Recently also, we have got data of something like 4,000 people from France. These are HSBC. Again, another group in France stole the data, because India is very well known in IT. I'm very sure some of our kids is going to steal data, right? I'm telling you, seriously, not joking. So the French fellows too, the, what one can call that, couple. So they stole the data of HSBC. They have got something like 60,000 names of people of HSBC, primarily from the French territories, who have got money in all these places, and they are hawking it around today. That is, if you want, you can pay a price. They went to Libya, then Libya, a lot of complications are there. They set up a company. They told, we will give the, they have, so they are encouraging others to start companies of stolen data, to sell it. And if governments want, they can buy it. So French fellows went and bought it. Huge amount of, so from the French, we have got some more data and other. In between, US became also, got involved in this, because US found that huge amount of their, the estimate for US is anywhere up to 2.5 to 3 trillion. We'll come to that estimate, a lot of estimates are there. US got very angry, because US is very, very clear, They can do any mischief vis-a-vis outside, but no outsider they would like to do mischief in US. It's very, elementary type of a thing. It's like, my dog I take for walk, it can go do anything all around the place, but nobody else's dog can do it before my house. It's a very, people who have dog understand what I am talking about. So the dog actually met with an accident. Anyhow, that's separate. So this is the, so they found out from UBS, but they did a very meticulous job. The Immigration Authority of US monitored every arrival of UBS representative into US, all port and location. This they collected over a period of 2 years. And whom they are meeting. Very, very systematic type of thing. They told 52,000 names you have to give. UBS got shaken. UBS is not one of those, small, old private sector bank in India or anything like that. UBS is a huge giant, actually. UBS got really shaken. Two things will happen if UBS really complies to that. The entire, edifice of UBS, because one of the fundamental principles of SWIFT is the ability for them to keep the confidentiality that they have built over a period of 350 years. Another thing. Then US told nothing to it. Then one fellow actually, that's a long, complicated case. One whistleblower was also arrested and then kept inside. Then finally UBS was fined $780 million. You have to pay the fine. And then they agreed to release 4,500 names, for which the parliament in Switzerland has to amend their only for US. US arm twisted, literally. They got it. Now US is telling we have not given the full. What about the remaining 52,000? 52,000 minus 4,500. They are not going to leave you. And then, big tussle is going on. And in between, France, Germany have come to one sort of moderate understanding, which is going to become. What they are telling is, okay, you don't give the names, forget about it, but you give the tax of that amount to us. Geographically, you find out how much French fellows have kept in Switzerland. So that portion, you have that tax, 15% to 20%, you remit to us so that we get that, and then you charge those fellows who have kept money that tax. We don't want because basically we are in desperation. We want the money. We are not interested in. So this is something which is going to accelerate, if not going to decelerate. How much is a very, very cumbersome and complicated thing. The global is, according to IMF, is 18 trillion. Trillion is some 1,000 billion, and 1,000 million is, and then multiply with 45 rupees or 46 rupees to get your too many. But not as much as that 2G, 1,76,000. It is similar to that, big one. 18 trillion. This is excluding major centers like Luxembourg, Dubai, Switzerland, and other. So one thing is sure, quite a large portion of the global funds they are not kept there. They are kept in form of several amount of what one can call, sandwiched and derivatives, and we will not get into all those technicalities. These funds are available with the tax haven, basically, which should accrue taxes to the US government. From India, estimates tremendously differ. One estimate is that 450 billion. Which is the estimate done by the Global Financial Integrity. They have done a very good study. But primarily that is focusing on what is called the trade mispricing. That is under invoicing and over invoicing in the trade. India, so many other ways also we generate black money. Large amount of defense contract. It's not a top secret I am letting you out or anything. Huge amount of money changes and it is kept abroad. Then our artists, our sports people, our film people, they all earn huge amount of money abroad for their performances in various places. They keep it abroad. And then we also have a huge amount of floating population, in terms of which facilitates in terms of fixed population in US and in India, in terms of what is loosely called the Hawala transaction, where the transaction could be done in rupees, but the settlement could be in dollar. So India's is much. One thing is there is this WikiLeaks chief. He gave an interview in Times Now. And in the midst of conversation, he clearly made it, substantial portion of the Swiss money is that of Indians only. That is something which he mentioned. He didn't mention about. So that also. And Switzerland in 2010 used to have something like approximately Swiss money was 3 trillion. That's Swiss franc, and that time US dollar was more or less similar. So the chief of the Swiss Banking Association, Hamler, he says 1/3 of it could easily be black money. He himself mentions in why the Swiss are facing, there is a huge amount of debate there also. And out of this 1 trillion, Indians could be anywhere between 250 billion to 400 billion if WikiLeaks Assange is taken. So put together, ours could be anywhere in 1 trillion mark. So that is it doesn't really, if you ask me actually, before the election there was a lot of debate and other things. So I felt it doesn't really matter. It can be 100 million also. How does it matter? But we should take serious type of steps and effort. And why did it go? Hundreds of reasons. In the 60s and 70s, 50s and 60s, some of you might remember our average tax rate used to be, marginal rate used to be 98%. So if you have to earn, sort of 100 rupee, you have to pay 98 rupee as you are left with. Sometime, not always, it crossed even your. So people have to sell their assets to pay taxes. We had a situation which is factual, and so obviously, many people would not have liked that level of marginal taxes. Second is our foreign exchange position was also very, very slender, and the government introduced a lot of controls, and used to be given some $250 or something. And so business tycoons, when they go abroad, how can they survive on $250? So you have to stay in a small, sort of 3 by 3 feet by 4 feet type of a lodge. It is not, and I know some stories were very fascinating. They used to stay in a small place, fix a meeting in a large 5-star hotel or something in the lobby. Quietly after the meeting, come back to their, and to give a pretense to the other fellow that he is staying inside the hotel. It was a extremely what one can call. So that was second type of. Third could be lot of these 60s and 70s was the period in which significant number of kids were sent from here to abroad for higher studies and various other of activities. A large number of business houses used to send. Some of them were graduated, some of them were only just educated. There is a lot of difference between the two. Not all people who went there graduated. They are called educated. And in the balance sheet also they write, educated in such and such a university. That means they were not. They, professors tried their level best to. So they all went there, and so for that money is required. It's not a joke to get admission into. So hundreds of reasons are there why such. Last but not least is throughout the 60s, if you look back any newspaper or any of the writings by the Britishers, American, in the 50s, late 50s, and what will happen after Nehru. That used to be a big story. Books came on that actually. What after Nehru? So, stability of the country, stability. So when you feel there is significant instability, you tend to keep the funds rather outside. Of that, of course, somehow or other, due to historical reason or otherwise, Switzerland is one of the most popular destination for Indians. Something like what? Nearly 1 lakh Indians travel there. This is one of the largest, group from emerging markets. Not definitely, I am sure you will agree with me. They are not going for skiing in that, Swiss mountains or anything. Most of them cannot ski. I think you will agree with me. They just, they can go and deal with that. So, large amount of discussion take place about, is it possible to identify, what do we do if we identify? These are all, futile type of debates. Within the emerging market group, a lot of countries have succeeded. You may be surprised to know Nigeria has succeeded in getting back the Sani Abacha's money after a lot of protracted, thing with the Swiss, from the Swiss. Philippines have succeeded vis-a-vis this Imelda Marcos. Peru has succeeded. Then of course Pakistan has succeeded but could not succeed much in the sense Benazir Bhutto's thing and then a lot of political complications and other thing. It is still, sort of hanging. So it's not that it's impossible or anything. Not that way type of a story. Quite a number of. So India has a, still it has got enormous amount of goodwill outside. In spite of the government, we have a lot of goodwill outside. And tremendous number of people, I feel that India should take the lead. India still has got, that amount of what one can call general amount of respect and other. But a lot of emerging markets feel India should actually take that. Now, what is the way forward? Way forward is very simple. European Union, European Parliament members are clearly telling these tax havens should be closed. US senators, many of them are talking about. So there is nothing called, like all this, we are talking about double taxation and other thing. That's, nothing will come out of all those. Essentially, double taxation also will be looking forward, looking ahead. And with the Swiss, we finish it from 2013, hopefully January. But after that, whatever happens, only we can deal with, not the past. But the past is very critical for all the emerging markets, including in India. Right? Past, in general, in India, past is uncertain. Everybody knows about it. Past requires to be forecast in India, not the future. Because on anything on past, there are three views. One student I interviewed, he told Aurangzeb was the most noble, most, empire. Other fellow told, no sir, he was a brutal fellow who was barbarian. He told, what is this? Both of you are from the same school, same college. That fellow is, no sir, he told when he studied when Murali Manohar Joshi was Home Minister, HRD Minister. This fellow studied when Arjun Singh was HRD. It's a very, So, in India, past is uncertain. Kindly note this, very important. Past requires to be predicted, estimated. One group says that, Indians went abroad. Other group say others came into India. It's not still settled. Neither of them is able to figure it out, which took place some millions of years before. Very heated arguments take place. who went, whether they came or he went. It's not a settled issue. Nothing is settled. Adi Shankara's date, there are 8 opinions. Kalidasa, was he one Kalidasa or multiple? Past is uncertain. But our past money is not uncertain. It is still held in various locations. Right. It's actually ours. It's something what I would loosely call a Sridhan, which has been given to us by our ancestors. So we have to combine with this emerging market. Sir, do they have any power? They do. 1995, 94, 95 period. It's not very long. I'm not talking about very old past. 50% of the global GDP used to be with G7. 52% to be precise. 36% was identified emerging markets. 2011 estimate, 52% of the GDP is with the emerging markets. Only 36% with G7. But now what they did is the G7, they have made it into G20. They have told you also, come inside. Even though we are G20, we are not on the head table. Don't mistake it. Not in the main table. Main table, those 7 only. You are provided one banana leaf and has to sit there. Don't think that you are on the, you will not be in that table. Why we will not be in that? See, the table is not something which you will be invited. You have to grab it. That means you have to push out somebody from the table to the banana leaf, and you should get into that. For that, we require different type of leadership. This is very, very critical. So if you look at 95 to 2010, the entire thing has shifted to the emerging markets and significantly the Asian market. So we have enormous amount of potential. Right? We have enormous amount of opportunities to combine with this group. See, for instance, in G20, we can create a subgroup. FATF, we have become a full-fledged member. Right? United Nations, again, corruption, we have ratified it, but we have not implemented several core areas of the ratification. So we can take very easily the significant amount of leadership. Germany and France at least will be with us. UK doubtful, because UK itself has got a lot of these factors and they have to deal with that. Guernsey, then they have this British Virgin, then Gibraltar, several of that they have to settle it. But Germany and France are extremely clear about the role, and so we shouldn't be talking about like old that the same thing we will sign treaties. We should very categorically, unambiguously, unequivocally say Indian role is to close down all these attacks, because of the simple fact these were started in 19th century, implemented in 20th century, which were the centuries of privacy and secrecy. 21st century, whether you like it or not, is a century of transparency and integrity. This is where we are leading. 21st century doesn't care about your privacy. India may still be wondering, somebody is ill, we should not even think about it. Where is that person? Where is, what is the disease? Nothing will be known, sir. But you have to pray. How do I pray, sir? Unless I know that disease, unless I know that. It's a very complicated type of a thing. Anyhow, so the 21st century is completely different. So we have to enunciate the principles of 21st century. And fortunately, the principles of 21st century coming out of the acceptance of heterogeneity, acceptance of transparency, acceptance of integrity are all linked to our ancient civilization and past. It's not required for us to look outside anywhere. It is in our roots, it is in our ethos, and with other Asian countries who share similar roots and civilization, we can definitely enunciate this simple principle and take the lead in terms of domestically 4 or 5 points which I have been writing for a lot of time, which I will just say 1 or 2 of these points. One is domestically, first and foremost thing what we can do is we can make our leaders, all our leaders, elected representative, appointed authorities, CVC, CBI, right, clearly indicate that by affidavit that they don't possess any accounts abroad. There is nothing. Where are we landing? If you ask me, we are landing in a simple situation. Whether you like it or not, today we are in a situation where unless proved innocent, you are guilty. Let me make it very clear. People are not cynical. People have come to that conclusion. Common people discuss, and some judgment is given immediately. One fellow says, I don't know how much that judge has taken. No, it's a very, extraordinarily difficult situation. When some MP votes on some way or other, how much that. Nobody is taken into trust and confidence. University is functioning, hospital functioning. Everywhere you look at it, there is a cynicism and there is a sense of that, something is getting fixed. That means in the minds of lot of people, you are guilty unless proved innocent. This is a extremely, unacceptable situation for a society to function. How to come out of this? One method would be, let's say that I don't have any accounts abroad. Declaration of this need not necessarily create any complication. If you don't have it, you don't have it. But if you have it, you can say that the government can initiate steps too. So there is no question of false affidavit or anything. Somewhere at the top it has to start. It has to start, and it's a very painful process. Should I, say that I am innocent? But we have come to a situation in our emerging, it's something like what the Wild West, some of you would have seen McInnes Gold, will understand what I am talking. That type of a situation. They are phenomenally growing. Opportunities have significantly increased, but at the same time, tremendous amount of malpractices. And because of this is a growth induced, everybody wants to be, day after tomorrow a millionaire. So that is the type of a situation we have landed, and this is something which you can't, like when my grandfather retired from civil service, he got one house and one car. That was his greatest achievement at the time of retirement. One black Austin car, I remember. All the grandchildren he used to take in the, not that he loved grandchildren, he wanted more hands to push the car. It was more, driving on this, that's all. But today, I will tell you honestly, my student, at the time of entry, they would like to have a house and a car. See how much, at the time of entry, one of the senior HR manager told me, sir, I got confused while interviewing one of you. I asked, why should you get confused? You came here to interview, you didn't come to attend my classes. So, because when you come for that, you can get confused. No, not like that. Because in the middle of the interview, I got confused. Who is interviewing? No, I'm seriously telling. He told me he's a very, very large, investment banking HR manager. Because the topic we had to that, what is the roadmap for me to become a MD in your company? He says, I myself is AGM, wondering when I will become GM. So what that person is, so the aspirations levels are unbelievable. Whether you like, these are not something which you can put a dam or, put a thing full stop or something. So phenomenal amount. So there is a need. Second is, you can pass an ordinance, which I have been telling and which, Jethmalani also feels. You can pass an ordinance telling with both the houses sitting together. Like in the case of the occupied, territory of Kashmir. There was an ordinance, there was a resolution by both the houses telling it belongs to. Same way we can pass telling that any funds of Indian citizens that is held abroad beyond, our regulatory framework and other thing belongs to a trust. We can create a sovereign trust actually. And sovereign trust will hold it. Until and unless that man comes and proves that he is holding it abroad for some reason or something, some justifiable reason, that's okay. So this can be done actually. And this ordinance can be used, or this parliament resolution can be used to alert all these tax havens. Look, any Indian citizen having funds, according to our constitutional requirement, you have to provide information to us. Then we have to also stress on geographical disclosure by global banks. Currently, geographical disclosure is not done by global corporation. There is a huge pressure on extracting industries like, mining and oil and other things to publish geographical detail. That's because of the, this, what one can call global, NGOs and other. Same way we should pressurize actually the global banking institution that the geographical disclosure is a must. We should know how much from India is the funds with you. On an aggregate basis, we can compute it based on. Second is not only geographical disclosure, automatic transmission of information. You don't have to wait for us to ask you. You should communicate to us because they are governed by our jurisdiction. Some of these, of course, will be using arm twisting. So people do not, people say, sir, Switzerland, what, and of course, in India, the debates are very peculiar. One lawyer wrote to me from Delhi, sir, if you take all this money from what will happen to Switzerland? He is asking me. Only in India you will find this debate. This fellow is sitting up to his neck in garbage, pothole. Drainage is not working. Power is switched off. But he is very concerned about what will that, because he found out somewhere that 22% of their GDP comes from all this banking activity. He is very much, his eyes are full of tears. What will happen to Switzerland? See, it's very difficult to conduct any debate in this country because people's concern are phenomenally different, right? So it's not something which we should worry about. They have a huge amount of investment here. People forget it. The amount of Swiss investment, running into billions of dollars. We can also use some amount of economic pressure. It's nothing. It's not something top secret or anything. Every country in the world does it. So we can also do that. That's something very important. The last but not the least is there are a huge amount of foreign travels undertaken by including cabinet ministers. And nowadays it is in private aircrafts. Number of private aircrafts is more or less same as commercial aircraft in India. And many of it is not, unfortunately, reported to the cabinet. It's not I am telling. India Today has published actually a detailed report about some of these things not getting reported. And I think it is important and imperative for the PM to exercise his authority and say that all the foreign travel, particularly to tax havens by people, shall be reported to us and it should be disclosed. It should be made public. What is there? Let me know at least where my representative is going. And many of these tax havens are also very interestingly travel holidays places. Mostly they are seashore or mountains. Some of them are very exotic places and other. So usage of aircraft, private aircraft, and some of them go on official tour and make a detour in the side. There is a requirement actually, the concerned ministry has to inform the cabinet secretariat about this type of travel. And incidentally, they are supposed to give a one-page report also. What did they do there? Other than, doing other things. Some official work also they would have done, I am sure. They are supposed to give a one-page, and there is a format for it. I have seen that format. And it is not provided to the PM's office. It's a very, very severe situation. Last but not least, very simple, which everybody is shouting, release the names. What is there? Liechtenstein names and this other HSBC names. Some more names will come. Just release them. Nothing is, large number of people in a small town may not even know who are the people. But at least people in the other side. Because it will be some sort of a, what one can call mild deterrence. That this could happen or this could. So there is no need for them, whatever little has been leaked in the press, there is no big heavy fellows or anything. There are 2-3 Gandhis, but they are all local ones, local varieties. So you don't have to, this has come in the press actually. The press has released it. There is nothing to worry about it actually. So they can, there is all the more reason. And we are into hundreds of grouping, Egmont Group, we are FIU. One thing is we are practically in every possible global grouping in terms of what one can call looking at this issue. So the primary aim of India, along with this emerging market, including China, should be to reorganize the global financial architecture. This is what should be the simple goal of India. It has to take upon itself the responsibility of reorganizing the global financial architecture. How do we do, sir? There are enough people like him who can be facilitators in the process. It's not that we don't have expertise. We have phenomenal amount of expertise. It's not something which somebody asks, how will we deal with this money? There are enough brains in this country. In existing institution I'm talking about, SEBI, RBI, all these institutions have got enormous number of, plus private. Lot of people are there who can tell you how to sterilize it, how to create SPVs, how to use it for infrastructure. That's not a very, it's not, suddenly, 1 billion, what will you do? Don't worry. But of course, if you give it to political people, they know within a matter of few days it will disappear. I'm not talking about that way. That way also it can be done. You offer it to some fellows and not. But we have a huge amount of capabilities and expertise. So we should leverage on it. We should use it and become the, what one can call, global type of a, that's very, very important. Otherwise, we again and again get into a situation, as it is popularly called in India, at the end of every light in India, there is a huge government tunnel. This is something which is very important. At the end of every light, there is a huge government tunnel. I think we shouldn't get into that situation. We must take the lead, and we must clearly assert that a new global financial architecture is required for the requirements of 21st century. Why are you worried about? Because we are going to sit on the high table, and we are going to drive this entire thing, and we are going to retrieve where we were in 1820. That should be the message. Thank you.